So, like in your past history, like who was a mentor to you growing
up? Let's see. There were a couple guys. I grew up in North Carolina. There were a couple guys who were mentors to me. One, his name was Phil Anderson. He was a mentor because I was a high school kid trying to figure life out. Trying to figure out what I wanted to be about. And he was a young life leader. And so I met him. I think more than anything, he told me it was the way that he lived his life that made him a mentor to me, somebody I looked up to, and somebody I still do. He still lives in the same town in North Carolina where I grew up. And then, professionally speaking, there's a guy named Steve Chesney in Knoxville, Tennessee, who that's where I went to college at University of Tennessee, and he was on Young Life staff and hired me, and was a whole lot more than a boss. Was more of a friend, somebody who taught me how to do Young Life, how to be a Young Life leader. So those two guys kind of stand out.
Okay. I feel like you've definitely mentioned it before, right? Steve Chesney?
I think so. Probably in a Young Life talk. Yeah.
So, like, growing up you grew up in North Carolina.
In Greensboro, North Carolina.
Did, like, growing up there shape your values at all?
Yeah, I would say so. My friends and I, my family, we were kind of lower middle class. So, middle class, lower class, I guess middle class is more of a blue collar, hard working, kind of maybe working harder and not smarter. And so that's kind of a value of mine. Unfortunately, I don't work smarter, I work harder. I would say growing up there in that kind of town has definitely shaped the way I view work. It definitely shapes the way I view family. It's shaped the way I view my faith. So yeah, for sure, I would say, to answer your question, yes.
I don't like what kind of belief systems did your parents instill like to you?
My parents wanted me to work hard in school. My parents wanted me to work hard on the field if I was playing a sport. They didn't have a faith in God, so that value wasn't anything they taught me. But hard work, whatever I was doing, was definitely something that they tried to instill in me. So, kind of stick with that.
And what kind of jobs did you hold growing up, and what did they teach you?
Yeah. My first job, I was eager to work when I was young, and so I was kind of begging my parents to work around 13 or 14 years old. And in that time, you had to, if you weren't 16 or 17, I don't remember the age, you had to get a work permit. So I talked them into taking me downtown to get a work permit so that I could work at age 15. And I worked at a swim and racket club. So I worked in the pro shop of a tennis place and strung rackets and sold tennis stuff. But basically, people were coming to play tennis, and I was working in the pro shop. And so yeah, I wanted to work. I've wanted to work as long as I've known. Even now on a Saturday, if I have a chance to sit down or work, I want to go outside and work. I want to accomplish something. So I held a job as working in this tennis shop. I also waited tables kind of my junior, senior year of high school. And then in college, towards the end of college, I started working again, kind of once I got my feet underneath me from school, trying to figure school out. I worked at, retail clothing, mall, something like that, Abercrombie type deal. Yeah.
I didn't know, did you play tennis?
I played tennis up until high school.
Okay.
So I was never, competing anything serious in tennis.
I got you. I was just curious.
Yeah.
I played tennis. I can't even string rackets.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a thing that's like kind of lost. A lot of people take it to like a store
and get it done.
Yeah. But there are few kids I know that do how to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like when did you really discover your passion? And what is your passion?
Yeah, I think my passion I'm passionate about my relationship with Jesus. And so meeting young life leaders in high school, I realized that I'm passionate about that. I believe in it. I think it's real. I think it's something that has shaped me drastically. And so my passion is living that out, but my passion is also doing for other high school kids what those young life leaders did for me. So part of that is faith. Other part is just life. I grew up in not a rough growing up at all, but I didn't have a ton of direction. And those guys, through the way they lived their life and through the way they poured time into me, they gave me direction in my life. And so my passion is to do the same thing for other high school kids. And that may not be high school kids forever, but right now it is. And I think, but faith will be a part of that forever. Probably what I do as a job for the rest of my life will have to do with my faith.
Awesome. I actually went into San Antonio for a couple weekends ago because I think I went to Trinity. And there were some Young Life kids there, and they were like, "Oh, do you know what Young Life is?" I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like, I'm a leader, like at my school, like."
Yeah.
And so we got on this huge, conversation just about like, and I was like, "It definitely seems like something like these guys seem like really cool and nice. Like, I definitely could see myself doing this."
Yeah. I hope you do, man.
It was
I hope you do.
It was cool.
You'd be a great leader.
There's so many. What are some of the most important decisions you make as a leader, like at FYL?
Yeah. The term replacing myself is big. That term means that what I know about how to do my job, what I know about Young Life, that I replace myself and train someone in a way that they can do what I do or do it better. And so your question was, what do I value high? Is that what the question was?
Or what are some really important decisions?
Important decisions I make. One of those is training people well. That it's easier probably just to go do it myself, but I think an important decision I make is to train someone else to do it, because they may have and they will have a whole bunch of gifts that I don't have, and so they can bring what I train, they can bring that to the table. They can also bring what they're gifted in. So an important decision is to train people well, take time to do that. It's important.
I imagine, especially picking the people that you...
Yeah, hiring people, picking people to be leaders is a big decision, very important. It affects not only them, but it affects people that they'll go do life with and teach. Let's see, another important decision that I make in my job. Another important decision I think I make in my job is to know when to quit working. I think you can go sit at a desk job or whatever job you have and work away. You can work your life away. You can work 12 hours a day every single day for 365 days a year. But I think an important decision is to know when to stop. It's almost like, workaholic. A workaholic is a real thing, and alcoholic's a real thing. Alcoholics don't know when to stop. Workaholics don't know when to stop.
Like a balance.
Yeah, and I think you're more effective, and I think you make better decisions, and I think you actually accomplish more when you know when to stop and you can turn it off and go do something else. And I think for guys, that's easier to kind of turn the switch and turn it off. Maybe easier than girls. Girls carry a lot of that with them. They're more emotional than we are, and maybe it's not as easy to turn it off as it is for us, but I think that's an important decision to make.
Are you more effective in a group or like a one-on-one basis?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely more effective in a group. And I think it's important to know that about yourself. Are you better one-on-one with people, or are you better in front of a group? And I think of like you and I sitting here and having a conversation. I enjoy that, but I think if I'm standing in front of you and all of the senior guys at Campaigners or at Young Life Club, I think what I have to say and how I communicate is more effective than one-on-one. And And that's probably pretty rare for most young life leaders. They're probably better one-on-one than in front of people, but
I can see that.
yeah.
How do you measure success as a leader?
It's a great question. How I measure success would probably be in terms of people's lives being changed by God. If I'm in a relationship with people, high school kids, adults, whatever it may be, if God is a part of changing their life, or if God allows me to be a part of Him changing their life, I think that's success. In my job, it's easy to make success about numbers. How many people showed up to Young Life Club? How many people signed up to go to Frontier Ranch? How many people fill in the blank? But that's really not success. It's our temptation to make it success, but success is about people's lives being changed, people's lives being affected, and so the other piece of that is, I think, as a leader, we call ourselves Young Life leaders. Leaders have followers, and so if people are following where you're going and you're taking them to a place that is worth taking them to, that's of high value and high integrity, then I think that's success.
What do you think is like a big challenge? Probably, what is the biggest challenge that leaders face today?
Golly, that's a good question.
I mean, we can skip it. We can change it.
No, that's okay. It's a good question. The biggest challenge leaders face today. This might be very, very narrow-minded way to answer it, but there is less one-on-one interaction in my mind, like this. If you look around, there's one other table having an actual one-on-one conversation. There's a whole lot of this and a whole lot of this and a whole lot of social media and a whole lot of, you don't really have to call anybody anymore. You can text them, email them. So I think that one of the biggest challenges leaders face today is being trained and knowing how to communicate well. There's a whole lot of tone lost in text and a whole lot of translation lost in email, and effective communicating has devalued leadership, I think. So
I really like that answer. To you, what defines a person of character?
I think a person of character makes the same decision whether he's in front of a group of people or by him or herself. A person, integrity really means making the right decision when nobody's looking. I think a person of high character has high integrity, has a value system. People of high character have a value system that they know what's the most important thing to them. There are a lot of things that can be very important to a person. Money can be very important to a person. Relationships can be very important. God can be very important. I think knowing what's the most important thing to you gives you good character, because you're confident, and confident people a lot of times have high character. So integrity, confidence, values kind of all go into character, I think.
How do you motivate your team?
How do I motivate my team? I consider my team, I have two teams. One team would be the staff that I lead at the West Houston Young Life office. They get paid, they're Young Life leaders, they lead teams. My other team would be the volunteer Young Life leaders at Memorial. There's 15 of them. And they work full-time jobs, but they spend time with high school kids on a volunteer basis. To speak to that team, the way I motivate that team, I think is that a few things. Number one, we share stories about what's going on in kids' lives, high school kids at Memorial, what's going on in lives. We pray with each other and for each other. we motivate each other by